to IS460 and 560 project management. I'm Professor Fahmi Jalani. Today we'll be taking a look at chapter 3 on project selection and portfolio management. Do note there are some calculation for us to be aware of, but it's not so essential. Hence, many projects do need to see the return in investment. So in project selection, technically you have a pool of project. For example, the company might have various type of project that is being proposed by the engineers or staff or management in order to increase the profitability of the company or production. Okay. In every project, we take a look at some of the few points. For example, realism. Is it feasible for the company to produce this? Is there any profit, any benefit for the user, for example? Capabilities, what are they capable of the product, for example, a new iPhone, for example, or iPad, tablet, for example. Flexibility, is the product could be used with combination with other accessories, for example. Okay. Ease of use, is it easy to use for the user? Okay, in this case, cost effectiveness, how much does it cost to make the product? You do not want to make a product that's very expensive, and so in that case you won't get any profit from there. And comparability, is there an existing product that is in the market which you can compare as a competitor. So next we take a look at screening and selection issue. We take a look at risk. Okay, unpredictable to the firm. You could have logistic risk, manpower, technology risk. Okay. The raw material could not be sourced in time, for example. You don't have the expertise to do it, for example. Okay. Commercial market potential, is there a real need in this, for example, this product by doing this project. Internal operating, this is basically operation. Would people be existing staff be used to do this project? What about their daily work? Okay. And other additional item, for example, pattern, okay, copyright. Okay, when you create a new product, it's good to have a pattern because you don't want people to copy your product. Okay. So next we take a look at what the approaches in screening a project. So few things which we go in through in detail later on. Checklist, okay, model, simplified scoring model, analytic hierarchy process, profile model, and financial model. So the first one will be checklist model. Basically, we have a list of items that you need to check whether does the requirements agree. Does the project or the product falls into the requirement. So, and assume everything is equally important. So not only that, you do have discussion, pros and cons, strengths and weaknesses. Next is simplified scoring model. So each project has a score. Basically, agreement technically the criteria, the weight, and the score. In this case, the score is equal to the weight multiplied by the score summation. Okay, just a general guide. Moving along, we have analytical hierarchy process. So there are 4 steps. Basically, is to construct a hierarchy, criteria, and sub criteria. Okay. Next is to locate the weight. How important or do we actually need this? Next, we have numerical value. Okay, in terms of dimension. Okay, which we will take a look later on. Lastly, we have score determined. Okay. So each project will have all these 4 steps. Next, we have profile model. Okay, here in the table we see risk and return. Okay, and this is basically the minimum desired return, maximum desired risk. So if you are this part is technically efficient. Okay, it's like a stock exchange, for example. Okay, other than that, we have a financial model. Okay, to take note that every project costs money, and you need to calculate, for example, the payback period, net present value, internal rate of return, and opinion model. Okay. So first we take a look at the payback period. So payback period is basically how long does the project will reach a break-even point. Okay, where we have the investment, okay, divided by the annual cash. Okay, the amount of money you put in. Okay, right, and basically how much money you make after a certain period of time. So example here. Okay, here shows a project required initial of 200,000 and we generate cash saving of 75,000 each year for the next 5 years. So after 3 years, okay, you get the cumulative divided by the cash flow, which is 2.67 years. Okay, so within 3 years you will break even. Okay, next we take a look at net present value. So net present value, we have the net cash flow, required rate of return, initial cash investment, and inflation rate during period. Okay, as we know, as the project continues during the year, okay, we do have inflation. So the higher net present value, the higher the value. Okay, which we can see in the next slide. See, in this case, investment of 60,000 and return is 15,000 per year. Okay, for 5 years, 6,000. So within, and you have a minimum rate of return of 8%, right? And expect inflation hold steady at 3% over the next 3 years. And you have a negative, which is not a good investment. Okay, even though these are speculation, but it's good to have these values, okay, for every project. Let's take a look at internal rate of return or minimum rate of return. Okay, you have the annual cash tax flow, initial cash outlay, project expect life, and the project's internal rate of return. Okay, so the higher the value there is better. Okay. An example here we see project cost 40,000, cash flow 14,000 next 4 years. Okay. And rate of return about 70%. So does it meet the threshold? So calculated at 15%. So the expected is 70%, but they got 15%, which is not good. Okay. Option model. Okay. So from both calculation, net present value and internal rate of return, okay, it doesn't account for failure, see, but it makes a positive investment in this case. Okay. On top of that, some questions you ask: can the project be postponed, or maybe in the future? Okay, it could be done. Because certain project are not feasible during that time of economy. Okay. Portfolio management. Okay. So making decision is very systematic. Okay. So it requires review, prioritizing, decision making, okay, alignment, and prioritization of the company. Okay. So companies should not rush into starting a new project, or completing it. Some key to success. Okay. You need to have a flexible structure. Okay. And most importantly, freedom of communication. Okay. Very low cost environment means you are using what you have, resources, for example, time-based transition. In this case, you optimize the time, okay, where you actually track the time properly. Other than that, we have problems, which is technically conservative technical communities, where you do find, for example, engineers who say it cannot be done. Okay. For example, like Elon Musk launched his SpaceX 3 times. Bound to be some engineers say it cannot be done, but on the forefront, they managed to launch the rocket, for example. Okay. Out of sync project. Okay. Sometimes staff are not in tune, or do not have the same vision of the company. Next, we have unpromising project. Project that is too large or too big, which is unachievable at times, and scarce resources. For example, we don't have enough funding for the project. Okay. Manpower, expertise. Okay, those are some of the problem that you will see. So that's pretty much it for chapter 3. If you have any question, please feel free to email me. Stay safe and stay warm. Thanks. Bye bye.